Ding dong, the Colton Moore Clown Show is dead. Peach Pundit, the podcast, is a conversation filled with the personal opinions of the people who are participating. Any view or opinion expressed belongs only to the person who expressed it and not with anyone with whom that person is professionally affiliated. I love that song. My name is Scott Turner. That's Buzz Brockway. You
Howdy.
are listening to Peach Pundit, the podcast. Buzz, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Outstanding.
Doing well.
You were going to say something about the song?
Yeah, I love it too. It's a banger.
It's a banger. Your use of the young people talk is sus. So sus.
Indeed.
We're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. Well, not really a lot of things. They all fit neatly under just a few topics.
Mm-hmm.
Not the least of which is the congressional 14th special election has come and gone. We know who's in the runoff.
Speaking of bangers.
Yeah, and gloriously we know who's not in the runoff.
Oh, but now look, you said he was dead, that the clown show was dead.
Oh, we're going to get into it. So stay tuned. We're going to talk all about it. But we got to fill you in on the governor's race too.
Yes.
Lots going on there. We got some new polling we want to share with you and also give you some insight from the hallways, the marble covered hallways of the Georgia Gold Dome. The chatter in the hallways has evolved the longer the governor's race is going. We're going to fill you in on that along with some other things around that. We also have some polling we're going to talk to you about in the U.S. Senate race. Do some comparative stuff. And those goofballs, rejects, and a-holes up in Catoosa County are trying to electioneer the ballot, turn it into an actual campaign flyer in the ballot booth.
Yes.
All that and more when we come back.
Peach Pundit has an anonymous Patreon who would like to invite you to learn more about the Alzheimer's Association. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. No one should fight Alzheimer's alone. With your help, no one will. Learn more on their website, alz.org.
Americans for Prosperity Georgia is out in communities across the state celebrating the policy wins of the last several years and casting a vision for what the future holds. Visit peachstateplaybook.org. Again, that's peachstateplaybook.org to learn more about the game plan for freedom and prosperity. Because to win, you have to call the right plays. Thank you to Tony West and our friends at Americans for Prosperity for being a partner level Patreon. If you would like to join our little community of Patreons, you can head on over to patreon.com/peachpundit. Sign up for any one of our tiers starting at just $5. We've got some new ones in the chat, in the Signal chat. That thing is hopping. Like as we talk right now, I'm looking, there are 3 notifications since we started recording because I looked at it right before we hit. So the conversation is stellar.
Yes.
It's intelligent. It's funny. Come be part of the community. $5. Patreon.com/peachpundit. So Buzz.
Yes.
Anything interesting happening in the world? Anything at all?
Just a little bit. I mean, goodness. Just a little bit. What a week it's been, huh? Here in the Peach State.
Yeah, it's not a lot of news coming out of the Gold Dome. This is the week after crossover where House bills are being heard in the Senate, Senate bills are being heard in the House, and they slow down for just a little bit of time. So they only met for, I think, 3 of the days this week. They took a committee day in the middle.
Yeah, committee day. Lots of committee meetings.
Well, it doesn't mean they're not working. It's just that they're working to advance the legislation that we will be talking about in the coming days.
Yes.
But anything sticking out that you wanted to highlight before we dive into the agenda and talk about the clown show?
You mean like legislatively?
Yeah.
There was some good bills that passed out. I think you highlighted a little bit. Representative Montaham had a bill, and so I'd done some digging into it. I think it's a really good bill. There's a huge problem that one of the organizations that we are a part of wrote a paper about. SNAP, the supplemental nutrition program, aka food stamps. There's the one big beautiful bill is in the process over the next couple of years of cracking down on error rates. Now, some of that might be fraud, but don't think fraud immediately. It's just when you have a large number of people applying for a program, state governments can get overwhelmed, and so people end up with money that they aren't really qualified for. It's not necessarily fraud. It's just a lot of it's just mistakes. So Georgia, unfortunately, has a higher rate. And to their credit, they've been trying to do something about this for quite some time. The Biden administration thwarted some of their efforts to improve the processing of their system, and hopefully they're hoping, I know, that they'll get a fair hearing under the Trump administration on some of the new and innovative things they want to do. But I think a lot of Representative Montaham's bill is dealing with that. How can Georgia clean this up to reduce its error rate? Because in a couple years from now, the hammer's coming down, according to the One Big Beautiful Bill, and Georgia will have to pay a big hefty fine if their error rate is above a certain threshold. So kudos to him for bringing that. Kudos to the department for being proactive and taking this stuff head on. So there you go.
Representative Montahan has also agreed to write an op-ed explaining the legislation and why it's important, but you hit the nail on the head. There are clawback provisions in the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Yes.
That if we do not get our error rate below 15%, they're going to start clawing back money to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes.
So it's a huge hit to our budget if we don't get this fixed.
Our Alliance for Opportunity produced a paper. I was looking to see if I had it here, and I'd been handing it out to various people in the Capitol, and glad to see it being acted upon. So
as I told you all last week, I think it's one of the more important bills. It passed after midnight on crossover day. It should have passed a lot earlier. I think what happened with that bill too, and one of the reasons why it got slowed down, is Representative Montahan was trying to work with the Democrats to address their concerns, and he gave them a ton of time to give input. All the way up through the day before crossover day, they were still having hearings on the bill, trying to iron out. He was trying to give them the opportunity. They punished him by dragging it out. And this is something I've heard from a lot of legislators, and I've made this observation in my own work, trying to work with them this year on an election bill. They seem like they're agreeable, and then it gets time to actually get the bill to the floor, to vote on it, or to pass it out of committee, and all of a sudden the world is falling apart. And they have disincentivized Republicans and center-right activists from wanting to work with them, because we can still go get our stuff passed. We want to try to be collaborative across the aisle.
Right.
And they are just stuffing the machine full of garbage.
Yeah.
And it making and acting like, oh yeah, we want to help. Can you do this? Can you do that? We take their input.
Yeah.
It's in the legislation. Representative Montahan did that. And they still fought him on it.
Yeah. I don't know that a single Democrat voted for it. I had to go back and look at the vote. But I think also when it comes to welfare spending, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anybody in the legislature, there is thinking out there on the left that fraud and wasted money doesn't really matter because of the stimulative effects of government spending. When you think that the multiplier effect is massive,
the broken window effect.
Yeah, that you don't really care. Not because, look, even if person X isn't really eligible, well, that's okay. They're not high income people, so we get the money in the hands of them, and they'll go out and spend it and stimulate the economy, and it'll be a net good. That's not the way things really work in the real world. That's that works great in the ivory tower of a university setting where you can sit around and make calculations and never have to test those hypotheses in the real world. So
True. Especially when the multiply. Oh my gosh, I could talk for days about that. We're going to talk about the next topic for a little bit, not for days, but Schadenfreude is a real thing.
cheeseburgers of Schadenfreude all around on this Friday afternoon, Scott.
You get a cheeseburger, and you get a cheeseburger, you get a cheeseburger, and all of the voters of the 14th Congressional District, you get cheeseburgers. Let me tell you why, okay? Let it not be said that this podcast never offers praise for Donald Trump ever, because all of America, not just the voters of the 14th Congressional District, not just listeners to Peach Pundit, not just Georgians, but all of America owe Donald Trump and Clay Fuller their gratitude this week for taking one of my predictions at the beginning of the year and making it come true, that Colton Moore is not going to serve in the United States Congress. I'll take the dub super early. Thank you very much. I couldn't be happier with this result. Other than we're going to a runoff, and runoffs, as my t-shirt says, are stupid. Were you surprised? Because this is what I really want. Looking at the results. Sean Harris was the Democrat. He came in at 37 1/3.
Mm-hmm.
Clay Fuller at 34.87. They're the top two vote getters. They advanced. So almost 70% of the vote between the two of them, or roughly 70, a little over 70% of the vote between the two of them. Were you surprised Colton Moore didn't crack 12%?
Well, no.
Tell me more.
Yeah, because look, I don't want to be too uncharitable, but what are his legislative accomplishments? What is his record?
He did get a bill passed on his last day and sent to the governor for signature. It hasn't been signed into law yet.
Okay, great.
And that bill is actually, I would have voted for it. It's a bill that says local governments can't infringe on your Second Amendment rights.
Sure. That's great. Good bill. But he brags about all sorts of stuff that he didn't do. He didn't stop fraud in the election. He didn't take down Fani Willis. All these things that he talks about, he didn't do. He caused an uproar everywhere he went. And that, I think what's most thrilling to me is that I hope that signals the beginning of the turning of the tide against this kind of politics, where voters just vote for the most outrageous character in the race and send that person to Atlanta or Washington or wherever. I hope that this is a turning of the tide. And kudos to the folks in the 14th for not, well, other than you, 11.6% or whatever it was you wound up with.
Now, this will go to a runoff, which means that Colton Moore is not completely out of the running for a seat in Congress, because he remains on the May primary ballot. But this is a weird scenario, right?
Yes.
The runoff will happen in a few weeks.
Yep. And
then it is very likely Clay Fuller, with all due respect to Sean Harris and the Democrats in the 14th, this district is a 68% Republican district. It would take some really weird things to happen, and some of those could happen thanks to Colton Moore, for Clay Fuller to not be the congressman for the 14th district as a result of the special election. But he has to immediately, upon getting sworn in, if he is in fact sworn in, begin campaigning to keep his seat immediately, because he will have to face off against many of these same candidates again in an actual primary. So you will not have Sean Davis and the Democrats in this jungle primary that we experienced in the special election. That being said, Colton does not appear to be endorsing Clay Fuller. It's been a couple days now. Election was on Tuesday. And I said, I don't expect he would, because that would require Colton Moore to be a team player.
That'd be off brand.
And he's just not a team player.
Mm-hmm.
Colton Moore is about Colton Moore. The party has very clearly spoken.
Yep.
91% of the party, or 91% of the voters, in a jungle. So that's a little high. 70% of the Republican vote, roughly, I'm guessing, just rejected you.
Well, 89%, right? If you got 11%, then
yeah, it's a jungle though, so Democratic votes in there too.
Yeah.
So if you stripped out the Democratic voters, and just looked at, I would guess it's about 70% of the vote would have gone to, roughly, well, maybe a little less, 65% of the vote would have gone to, but it would have been spread out. The other 35% would have been spread out amongst all the other Republicans in the race.
Now, here's what I don't know, Scott. How many folks of the Republicans qualified for the primary? I have not looked at that, because that would require you to raise spend double the qualifying fees. But
right, so $10,000 in qualifying fees as opposed to $5,000.
So I haven't looked, but
Colton's definitely on the May primary, and he has not dropped out, and he has not endorsed Clay Fuller. So if he's telling his people to sit home, because this is where Colton Moore is. If Colton Moore's like, if I want to rub my hands together and get devious, I have to tell my supporters not to go vote in the runoff. Runoff elections are stupid for a lot of reasons. One of them is you always have depressed turnout. The turnout is less. But in this scenario, if you have 13,000 people who are following Colton Moore, and I don't think all 13,000 of them would listen to Colton if he said, don't go vote for them because I need you to come vote for me in May. And I don't want him to have the incumbency advantage. But he's not doing anything to help Clay right now. And if he's telling people, don't go vote, then let's say 10% of them, 1,300 of them, let's see 2,000 of them are actually so enamored with him that they're going to sit out the election because Clay Fuller is gay Fuller and he is a rhino. And they believed all the false and negative, brutal attacks that Colton leveled at Clay Fuller. And they believe all that stuff. 2,000 of them sit at home. That's a fairly significant deficit when you start thinking about how a lot of the people who participated in the special are not going to come back.
So you've got a runoff in a special election. I forget the final number, 110,000 some odd voters showed up. That's already small. And you're going to get a fraction of that. So, yes.
Yeah.
That number, the scenario you lay out is magnified in importance.
The human being that is Colton Moore is incapable of doing things that are for the good of everybody if it's not good for him personally. And what's good for him right now is Clay Fuller losing. Because then it gives him a path.
Because then he immediately says, see, you guys nominated the wrong person to go up against a Democrat. I would have never lost. You wrangled the wrong rhino.
But this is just another reason. If you're one of the 13,000 people who voted for Colton Moore, you have to go back and vote for Clay Fuller. The Republicans need you. If you're worried about rhinos, then you should be really worried about people who are actually Democrats. And Sean Harris is a very serious candidate. He's a retired general. He presents himself as a cattle farmer to the folks that in his campaign ads. He doesn't even talk about him being a Democrat. He doesn't label himself. None of his materials labeled himself as the Democrat in this race. So every vote is going to be needed. And here we are in the 14th, which had such depressed turnout when Donald Trump said, it's all rigged, don't go.
And MTG was out there saying the exact same thing.
And this was the quote that, thanks to Lawton Sack, who found this for us. And we went back and watched the video. This is why it pays to be at the $10 level, because we actually played the video in the pre-show. But the quote from election night at Colton Moore's campaign party, we can't call it a victory party. It was a victory for us here, Peach Pundit, but not for the Colton Moore campaign. He said, look at the poll numbers. They don't really look that good for us. Unfortunately, not every rhino can be wrangled, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop wrangling rhinos. End quote. That doesn't sound like a man who's ready to go help somebody else get elected.
Nope.
especially since everybody not named Colton Moore is a rhino,
Right.
according to Colton and
Right.
his closest supporters. I'm just glad he's not going to be in Congress.
Yes.
And I don't see a path for him. You don't come back in May after
No.
getting tripled up by the front runner.
No.
It's over.
Yeah. Fuller would have to do something incredibly stupid in Congress to anger voters. Some previously unknown scandal would have to emerge, and that just seems highly, highly unlikely.
That's 2 months and 1 week as we record.
Right.
You know, it's just not possible. He's not going to be there long enough. He's going to go in there. He's going to keep his head down.
Right.
He's going to continue to run in the primary.
Yep.
It just doesn't seem likely at all. Plus, you're Colton Moore.
Yeah.
You know,
this was your one shot.
This was your shot. And the night before the election, a bunch of text messages went out.
Good grief, yes.
That said that Clay Fuller was a transvestite, that his wife was a beard, that he was gay and didn't have his own children, that it was all manufactured.
I mean, it was Candace Owens levels crazy.
It was. It was like ripped from the Candace Owens podcast, is what it felt like to me.
Yes.
And I actually said, only Candace Owens would believe this. But there was a lot of discussion about who did it. And Colton says he was framed.
Of course.
And, I'm going to tell you, there were a lot of people who said, I think I know who it was, and it had nothing to do with Colton Moore. We had a lot of messages at Peach Pundit from people saying, you need to go look at this specific person, this political consultant who does this type of stuff in other races. And we didn't go there, and we're not going to go there tonight.
Yeah.
But only to cast out that those messages could have come from Moore. Like, we don't know. And,
right.
And there were a lot of people in the political sphere who had theories that it wasn't Moore, that it was somebody else.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Why was
it
believable that it was Moore?
Because he had said some of those things, and plenty of his supporters had said all those things. That's why it was believable that it came from him.
Right. So Colton said, I would never attack the man's wife. Family's off limits. Well, here's the thing. When you tell people that a married man is gay, and you did that.
Yeah.
You did that, Colton.
Yep.
You are including the family.
Yes.
You're calling that woman's marriage a sham.
Yeah.
You have included the family by extension. So if you want to make accusations about the man's sexuality, which there is no reference. I mean, at one point, these PACs and the people who were supporting Moore posted a photo of George Santos.
Yes.
Dressed in drag.
That's how
and
bizarre.
George Santos weighed in.
Yes. That's how bizarre this got in the closing, in the moments before the polls opened. That's how bizarre it got. That George Santos, who should be in jail if not pardoned by President Trump. Yeah.
Right.
Is out there saying, hey,
George Santos.
Why are you putting a picture of me?
David Schaefer's Valentine weighs in and says, why is this photo of me dressed in drag at Rio when I was 18 being used to smear somebody else?
Oh, man. What a time to be
George
alive.
Santos threatened to press charges. Good luck with that, by the way.
Yeah.
When we get back, we're going to talk about the governor's race and all the different ways the evolving landscape around the polling is changing things under the Capitol. Not all the ways, but a lot of the ways. We're going to talk about that when we get back.
Golden Retriever Rescue of Atlanta, GRRA, is an all-volunteer, tax-deductible charitable organization. They are dedicated to providing veterinary care, comprehensive evaluation, and foster and adoptive homes to golden and Labrador retrievers who are abandoned, mistreated, neglected, or left in shelters throughout Georgia. We encourage you to visit their website grra.com and help connect people and dogs that need each other in their lives. You truly can make this world a better place by helping find homes of gold for these golden-hearted pups.
The message for the Golden Retriever Rescue of Atlanta is brought to us by Robert Lee and our friends at Lee6 Media. Thank you, Robert, for being a Patreon. Thank you to Lee6 Media. If you too would like to be a Patreon, gone over to patreon.com/peachpundit, sign up for one of those tiers. And this is a great time for you to just go ahead and click the like button wherever you're listening for this episode. Just go ahead, click that. We'll wait for you. 3, 2, click, like. Good. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Helps us a ton. So, Buzz, the governor's race
Yeah,
seems to be heating up some.
indeed.
We've talked for weeks now about how we were all surprised Rick Jackson got the race.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of that, the Burt Jones people seem to have been caught by surprise because their only response for several weeks has been to put Burt right next to Donald Trump and say, Donald Trump has endorsed Burt Jones.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to be working.
Right.
Because the polling data that we are seeing, the trend is not very favorable to Burt Jones.
Right.
Burt Jones started before Rick Jackson was in the high 30s. Almost every Republican poll. The last one that was done that did not have Rick Jackson in it was Insider Advantage in December, and had Jones up 24 to Raffensperger 14. In October, Jones was up 7. Qantas had Jones up 17. And the last one that I'll go back to is from July. Yes, Every Kid Foundation ran one with Marjorie Taylor Greene in it. And that had Marjorie Taylor Greene over Burt Jones by 4. But Jones was still the front runner of the candidates who are actually in the race. He had 18% in that poll. But we had seen him typically in that 30% range.
Right.
Or low 20s, mid 20s, as high as 32%.
Right.
And then January comes along.
Yes.
And we hear Rick Jackson's gotten in. Like all of a sudden the world changed.
Yes.
And ever since then, there has been a meteoric rise for Rick Jackson in the polls. He started out in his first poll that he shows up is this coefficient poll in February. Nope, sorry. It's a signal poll from February.
Right.
That's the first one that shows up. Jackson's at 16 to Jones 22. So Jones is up only by 6. Now, an interesting thing about this is the undecideds were hovering between 40 and 45 in all the polls before this. But we start to see Burt Jones tick downwards and Jackson tick up at the same time as undecideds are being level. And this means two things are happening, or both, or a combination of both. Jones voters were jumping ship to go to Jackson. Or Jones voters were becoming undecided again, and some of the undecideds went to Jackson, or a combination thereof. Because that's where the votes are coming from. They're not coming from Raffensperger and Carr. Their numbers stay roughly the same. Low double digits for Raffensperger, mid single digits for Carr. So that's an interesting thing that has happened. But what are you hearing in the hallways? Because a year ago, we were under the impression the next governor of Georgia was going to be Burt Jones.
Yeah.
So what are you hearing?
Yeah, it has changed. The initial, when it first happened, I remember a lobbyist who's a friend said to me, yeah, somebody call Guy Milner and tell him he doesn't need to run now, implying that, oh, we've got a new Guy Milner. And for those of you younger folks, Guy Milner, in the days before Republicans gained the majority, Guy was a Buckhead businessman, successful guy, ran for governor and maybe U.S. Senate, if memory serves, won the nomination, failed to win the general election. But that was before, Sonny Perdue came along and broke through and won the governor's race. So he was taking on Democrat incumbents at the time. So it's a totally different scenario here. We got an open seat, right, in a wide open primary. So, yeah, these days, though, it's I won't say to me that the perception is now that Jackson's inevitable, but man, it's a dogfight, and that those two are headed toward a runoff.
So the last three polls that we have, Qantas Insights, February 17th to the 18th, Jackson up 16.
Yeah.
Then we have
Yes.
one from late February, early March from Emerson College. And I would, at this point, call this an outlier. It had Jones up by 1.
Right.
And it was so close over the 21 to 20% Jones to Jackson that they are actually calling it even on the New York Times.
Right. When you look
polling
at this,
tracker.
like 20.6 and 20.3. So rounding, if you follow the rules of
Right.
rounding, is 21 to 20, right?
Right. So it's within the margin of error being even.
For sure.
And then we saw this next one comes from a pollster called JMC Enterprises, which I will admit I've never heard of.
Yeah.
But they were in line with the Qantas, pretty close to the Qantas. They had Jackson at 37 and Jones at 22 and Raffensperger at 11.
Right.
The Qantas from mid-February, Jackson at 33. So Jackson in the JMC, the most recent one's 37. So he went up 4 points. Jones was at 17 in the Qantas. He's at 22. So some of the undecideds, there are fewer undecideds in this latest poll from JMC Enterprises. It was held March 7th to the 8th. We'll link to it, at least to the New York Times website that has it.
Yeah.
Jackson 37, Jones 22, Raffensperger 11. We're hearing through the rumor mill that the folks in the Jones campaign are now admitting to members of the press that they are behind, that they are trailing. How is this going to change the legislative session between now and crossover? Is Burt Jones going to dig in? Is he going to get more crazy, less crazy? Is he going to govern more responsibly? Is he going to get desperate and do something like Greg Dolezal did? Or do you think there is something on the horizon legislatively that Burt can leverage to help him build greater momentum?
What a question. I think there was a bill that originated in the House by one of Jones's supporters that failed to cross over. That was, seemed to have been aimed at Rick Jackson. Will that language find its way to another bill? Possibly. But I think, look, if you're Burt Jones, and this is just my free advice, demonstrate that you can do the job, that you're up to the task, that you're a leader. Those are the kinds of things that you have an office in lieutenant governor. You hold the gavel in the Senate. Wield it wisely. Wield it with strength. Don't give into the crazy, because that's not what people want. They want leadership, and you've got a pulpit there to demonstrate leadership. So go do that. That's what my free advice to the lieutenant governor is. There's lots of good legislation out there, lots of it. Get it passed. The stuff that people want to talk about, the economy. Deal with the economy and the cost of living, and you've got stuff to run on.
When he ran to become LG, it didn't hinge on his Trump endorsement. He was the Trump endorsed guy, but here are the things I want to do. And that was a much more appealing message. Clay Fuller was the Trump endorsed candidate. He didn't get more than 35% of the vote in a race. It's good for something.
Sure.
It's not everything. So give us more. And it can't just be a tax on Rick Jackson. And we're going to get to the tax in just a second. But one of the things I found that really interesting is we've heard this from a lot of legislators. Well, I have. You tell me if you've heard the same thing. Rick Jackson called me.
Yeah.
State representatives coming forward to say,
yes,
I had a 30-minute conversation with Rick Jackson. I had a 45-minute conversation with Jackson. Rick Jackson called me and he asked me about legislation that I'm working on. And he was clearly prepared because he was asking really good questions. We've heard this from a bunch of Republicans serving in the House. And I will remind you, Burt did himself no favors last sine die by adjourning super early when a lot of House members' bills were waiting for a floor vote in the Senate or conference committees. He killed all of that on sine die by adjourning early. And so the House was naturally inclined to not really be super excited about Burt Jones as governor. because they felt like they really got shafted last year.
Sure. Yep.
And it hurts when you do a ton of work for 3 months and you think, oh, if I could just get this thing to the floor in the Senate for an agree.
Yep.
You know,
you're
we've
moments
worked
away.
so hard. We're just moments away. And then you look over there and the chamber's empty.
Yeah.
Oh, there were a lot of hurt feelings. A lot of hurt feelings. And I think Rick understood that. And I think it's part of the reason why he's been calling. And we're not talking everybody. We didn't hear from everybody. But there have been several who came to us and said,
yeah,
he's super impressive.
Yep.
And this has been something, I've not talked to Rick Jackson. You have.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody comes back and says the same thing. Like, this guy is working really hard. He understands my issues. He cared about what I had to say.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't sugarcoat his opinion. We heard today about an issue. Somebody asked him something about an issue he didn't know a lot about, and he told him, "Look, I'm not going to bullshit you. I don't know a lot about that yet."
Yeah.
I was like, "Holy cow, he sounds like me."
Right. Yep. Well, that's
so he's
a businessman.
Right?
That's a businessman response, not a politician response. Right.
Right. And we've heard from members of the House specifically who have said to us, he doesn't know my name. Burt Jones doesn't know my name. I have my name tag on. He doesn't even know my name. We've heard that. I'm not saying that that's true for everybody or whatever. But the difference between how the House rank and file members right now are being treated by the guy who holds the gavel in the Senate is pretty interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But things are starting to ramp up and getting ugly in the campaign between Jackson and Jones.
Yes.
Jones has finally rallied his campaign to begin responding in the Oppo research category, because I think it took them time. They weren't expecting Rick Jackson to get into the race all along. So they just now started running their negative ads. And we alluded to this. There was a Breitbart piece. Jackson Healthcare.
Pretty early on, there was a Breitbart piece, right?
And that's what they're hammering him on. They're hammering the Jones campaign is hammering the Jackson campaign for saying Jackson Healthcare provides nurses to Planned Parenthood, and therefore Jackson is a supporter of Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
And Jackson did the businessman thing, said to Jones, "I'll see you in court." Filed a defamation lawsuit that read more like a blog than a complaint.
It was, I mean, just for campaign spectacle, it's hilarious. I mean, reading it was quite humorous.
It read like an open letter to Burt Jones.
Yes.
It didn't read like a court filing.
We'll link to it in the show notes, but it's pretty funny.
Entertaining reading.
It is.
But it talks about Jackson's growing up, a lot of the things you've heard on the campaign. and I know here at Peach Pundit we're nerds, but we all need to have like regular people in our lives to tell us what's seeping through to the regular people. For me, that's my wife. And I asked her, I was like, "What have you heard about the governor's race?" She goes, "Well, I know Rick Jackson's running because I see his ads everywhere all the time."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, who's he running against?" And she stopped and she thought for a very long time. She goes, "Well, I know Raffensperger's in the race because people don't like him." And then she said, "Burt Jones." I was like, "How'd you know Burt Jones was running?" She goes, "Well, you told me." Okay. Okay, that's fair.
See, she does listen when you talk, Scott.
Well, and then she says, but also who told me was Rick Jackson told me Burt Jones was running. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, "Well, what have you heard?" She goes, "Well, for a long time, all I heard were bad things about Burt Jones." And then Rick comes along and he's talking about his history. She goes, I know all about Rick Jackson. I can tell you he grew up in Techwood. I can tell you that he was a foster kid. I can tell you his mom was an alcoholic. Like, she knows all this stuff about Rick Jackson.
Right.
It's working.
Yes.
And my normal wife, who doesn't follow politics like the rest of us do here at Peach Pundit, she's like, "Yeah, I don't really know anything about Burt." And I was like, "I talk about him all the time. We talk about my day at work." Right. And she's like, "Yeah, whatever." Yes. We work. Our marriage is one of the best in the world. We work. Trust me.
She listens and then filters out what's not important.
Right. So go and read the defamation lawsuit. I will predict the defamation lawsuit's not going anywhere. It's
No.
really hard to prove defamation, especially once you enter the political arena.
Right.
You sort of open yourself up to defamation when you decide to put your name on a ballot.
Right.
It just comes with it. So I'm going to play this ad for you because I think this was really well done. This is probably one of the better political ads I have ever seen. We are not getting paid by the Jackson campaign. As a matter of fact, the Jackson campaign has reached out to us to see if they could purchase advertising time, and I have declined to take their money because I would like to maintain some level of objectivity as we continue to cover this race through the primary and then on into the general. But that said, I have to play this for you. Listen carefully, watch carefully.
Burt Jones is losing, so now he's lying about Rick Jackson. But a few months ago, here's what Burt had to say.
My good friend Rick Jackson knows firsthand what it's like to grow up in the foster care system. And that's what makes his commitment to helping others so powerful. We're incredibly grateful for his leadership and his friendship and his knowledge. Thank you again, Rick, for all that you do for Georgia.
When you see Burt's new attack ads, remember, he doesn't believe them either.
So that's Burt Jones praising Rick Jackson in a response.
December.
In December. A month before Rick Jackson gets in the race.
Right.
A month before. Burt had to know that was out there. Burt had to have known that this was going to be used against him. Right?
Yeah. Sure. I would think so.
All right. Excuse me for a second. I got to put my tinfoil hat on.
For you audio listeners, Scott is putting a literal tinfoil hat on his head.
Look, I have no proof of any of this. Okay? I have no proof. This is purely me looking at a timeline of events and wondering, how does this happen? And this is what I've come up with. Okay, you're Rick Jackson. You are Rick Jackson. You wake up one morning and you decide, I'm going to write a check to Nikki Haley because I think Nikki Haley would make a great president of the United States, and we need something different as conservatives. We don't need Donald Trump again. This we know that happened.
Yep.
So this is what your mindset is, and you have been told by your friends that Burt Jones is going to be the next governor of the state of Georgia. And so you, in September of 2025, you write him a check. Now, I don't know when you decided you were going to run for governor. It would make sense that you would have done it after September, because why send Burt Jones the money?
Mm-hmm.
Unless, and this is where my little tinfoil hat is needed, unless you did it on purpose. And I'm not saying he did, but I'm just asking questions.
Oh, no. We're becoming one of those podcasts where we just ask questions.
I'm just asking questions. You already know you want something different, but this guy out here, all he talks about all the time is, I'm the Trump guy. I'm the Trump guy. I'm the Trump guy. Oh, yeah. And girls' sports. I'm the Trump guy. I'm the Trump guy. Oh, and girls' sports. And Donald Trump. And so you're Rick Jackson, and you're thinking, this guy really only has one card in his deck, and it's the Trump card. And it's looking increasingly like the LG is going to be the next governor of Georgia. And that just doesn't sit right for you. And we're talking before September now. We're talking late summer, August. You decide, I should probably run. So you contact some of your friends and you come up with this idea. Yeah, I'll run. But if I'm going to do this, it has to be done with military precision. And we have to do something to knock this guy down. So there's this PAC that nobody remembers now, but they run ads for months. And all the ads are using Burt Jones's own footage against him. And they're calling him a self-dealer. They're calling him corrupt. They're calling him somebody who looks out for his family's interest, who abused eminent domain. These are all the accusations that are made in the ads. And I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying, follow me for a second, if it did. And you write that check on September 11th $8,400 to the Burt Jones leadership PAC. So you're Burt Jones, and you're thinking, oh, well, this guy's my friend. And while this PAC is running, the benefit is nobody suspects Jackson. So people start pointing the finger at Chris Carr and Brad Raffensperger. Oh, they must be behind it. And the politicos are suspicious. But again, regular people like my wife, they don't ask who is the one telling us. They just know that there's somebody out there saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So you reach out to your friend, the LG, you're Rick Jackson. You reach out to your friend. At least he thinks you're his friend. In December, and you say, will you record a video message for me? Saying all these nice, and you know what? We'll write the script. You just have to show up on the Senate floor with professional lighting and look into the camera and just read nice words about Rick Jackson. All the while, this PAC is out there hammering him. While he's recording that video message, there are negative ads being run in opposition to Burt Jones. So a month later, you officially announce your campaign with a $50 million commitment just for the primary, knowing that when the LG starts attacking you, you already have this video in the can, waiting for the right moment. Every politico in the state is completely caught off guard by you, especially the LG. And for weeks, the LG's only response, I'm the Trump guy. I'm the Trump guy. People by now are no longer thinking about that mystery PAC. We don't see a lot of ads from it anymore. We see all positive Rick Jackson ads. But now it's March. You've been in a race for a couple months, and Burt Jones has finally decided to start hitting you. And then you roll out this ad. Perfectly timed. Perfectly executed from start to finish. Do I need my tinfoil hat to stay on, Buzz? Or am I crazy? Am I that crazy? I need to wear this hat? Or does it make sense that that's a plausible? I'm not saying that's what happened. Is that a plausible timeline?
I mean, it's not completely crazy, but just where I come from kind of in general on all these sorts of things is Occam's razor, the simplest explanation applies. And that is pretty much what Rick Jackson has said. He looked around. He was worried about, can Republicans hold the governor's mansion? Is Burt Jones up to the job in his mind, in his opinion, and concluded that the answer was no. Looking around the room, who's going to step up at this late date? Well, it's got to be me. And that's in the early moments of his campaign. That's what Rick Jackson said was motivating him to do this. So if he's responsible, which he says he's not, if he's responsible for the ads, then your scenario has some legs. If he's not, and he says he's not, and to me, I know there's some question of legality. I don't know about all that. Seems like they found a loophole, or not maybe a loophole. They used an aspect of the law that would allow them to do what they did. The perfect time to confess and remove all the mystery and stop the people from hunting to try to figure out who was behind those Georgians for Integrity ads would have been when he announced he was running and said, I was behind him because I don't think Burt Jones is up to the job. And I think Burt Jones is guilty of all the things that the ads accuse him of. He didn't do that. He said he wasn't responsible for the ads. I mean, as I mentioned a moment ago, he's a businessman, not a politician. He probably not as adept at lying as the rest of the political world is. So,
well, it's possible that there were people who support him and knew this was going to happen, could have done it and not actually been part of his official campaign.
Yeah.
And there are all kinds of ways to create that distance.
Sure.
Legally.
Well, and it seems that the snipe hunt is over. Nobody's looking anymore because they all assume it was Jackson.
Kind of like we all assumed it was Colton Moore who sent out the Clay Fuller texts the night before.
Right.
It's just the Occam's razor effect, like you said.
Yes.
It's the simplest explanation.
Right.
And I'm not saying at my timeline. I just thought it was entertaining. Like
Yeah,
I
oh, yeah.
recounted this to Kelly last night, and she asked me, "What do you think about all that?" I said, "I am entertained."
Look, there's no doubt. I have been saying, and I've said in the Peach Bun and Signal thread, and in another chat with some friends, this is becoming the most entertaining race that we've had in Georgia in a long time. And we haven't even talked about the Democrats, which is getting entertaining as well. But this is
Right.
just, if you are fascinated by the twists and turns and the just observing, if you enjoy observing political activities like I do, this is fun.
And it's not like you mentioned the Democrats. It's not like they are not without drama on their side, because obviously the elephant in the room is Jeff Duncan.
Pun intended by Senator Esteves there.
Yeah. Yep. So the same polling website that I'm looking at it has the Republicans on it. It's this New York Times. They also have the Democrats.
There's only been 2 polls of that race
since October.
Yeah, so there hadn't been a whole lot of polling in that
in
that race, which is fascinating. Yeah.
Emerson College was the last pollster.
Yeah.
They had a
well-respected, well-known poll. They know how to poll.
February 28th through March 2nd, bottoms plus 22.
Mm-hmm.
So bottoms at 35, Duncan at 13. Duncan had come up from his single digits. He was at 5% in a UGA poll last October. That was the last poll we have for the governor's race here in Georgia. Duncan has more than doubled. The third place person is at 7%. It's Thurman Esteves at 4%. And we're going to zero in on Esteves for just a second, because there was a forum this week where Esteves stood up and said, we can't have Jeff Duncan running our party. He's done all these Republican things. Jeff got up and attacked Jason, saying he must have woke up on the wrong side of the bed because he's repeating all of Trump's talking points or some nonsense, and saying that if he wanted to debate Donald Trump like arguments, he would have stayed in the Republican Party.
And Esteves' line was, we welcome converts. We welcome, if you convert, you're welcome to come to church. We're not going to make you the senior pastor.
Right. Which is a great line.
It is a good line.
And it's borrowed, because I've heard that line in the past as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So these polls, though, aren't good for Duncan.
I think this is a trend in all the polls we're going to talk about. Yes, Keisha Lance Bottoms is way ahead. She's a long way from 50.
Yeah.
So are we going to have a runoff? And so I think that's what's motivating. If you're Jason Esteves, why don't you attack Keisha Lance Bottoms? You don't need to climb to first. You just need to keep her under 50 and make sure you're in second.
Right.
Right. So that's what he's doing.
So the Esteves campaign rolled out DuncanForGeorgia.net.
Yes.
And it's a nice political cartoon of Jeff trying to shove an elephant behind a door.
Yes.
It's well done. And the tagline is, Jeff Duncan is and always was a Republican.
Yes.
And then it shows Jeff's mail piece. I will never apologize for being too conservative. I will never apologize for being too conservative.
And you can scroll through each of the various issues that it highlights.
Abortion, voting rights, Medicaid expansion.
You can scroll through a number of quotes by Jeff Duncan that are not the quotes of a moderate Republican even. They're the quotes
his own
of a
old
conservative.
tweets on it. Obamacare was a bad idea before we had all the facts. Now we know more. It's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
That's the Jeff Duncan I know.
Right.
That's the Jeff Duncan that won me over.
That's the Jeff Duncan I voted for.
It's the Jeff Duncan I voted for.
Yeah.
You being used against him.
Right.
We predicted this.
Oh, sure.
By the way.
And look, he has an answer. Well, and that's always what it's going to be. Look, Jeff, we've talked about it. A skilled politician, a skilled communicator. The question then becomes, are Democrats going to buy it? Among the fascinating things that we're watching this election cycle, that's going to be the fascinating thing. Can Jeff Duncan make the case that Democrats should not just welcome him into the congregation, but make him the senior pastor? That's the question for Democrats to answer. They're talking amongst themselves.
Right.
So it's can he climb into the runoff? And that would be most fascinating. And then what do Democrats do after that?
Look, and trust me, if Duncan gets into a runoff, we saw what he did with Schaefer.
Oh, man.
It is scorched earth time.
It's going to be brushback pitches every pitch.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
The mayor better get ready because it's they're going to be high and tight, chin music all afternoon.
Other polling we wanted to bring you up to date on. The three latest polls have front runner status for Collins for the Republicans. It's pretty sewn up.
Yeah.
Front runner status. And he doesn't have 50% or more in any of the polling. The only thing interesting about that is watching Dooley chip away until Dooley has now found himself in second place.
Yeah.
In the JMC poll.
Early on, Congressman Carter was running a lot of ads. And those ads were almost exclusively clip of Trump saying, Buddy Carter, what a guy. And love him. Great guy. You know, those kind of things that Trump floats out there.
He had the resolution to make Greenland red, white, and blue land.
Yeah. Yes.
I guess it didn't translate into traction. MTG
beat him to the Gulf of America thing, but you know, he's in the game on all that sort of stuff. None of these people have these races sewn up. You know, unless something changes, we're headed to runoffs in all these races. Now, I think, now look, one more thing we should mention about Keisha Lance Bottoms. People are like, why is she there? Everybody hates her. Who, Scott, is the biggest voting bloc, male and female, African-American, white, Hispanic? Who is the biggest voting bloc in the Democratic primary?
Atlanta.
Well, and what
African-American,
African-American
women.
Absolutely.
African-American women in Georgia outvote African-American men 2-1. You can look it up.
Yep.
So
why is Keisha in the lead? Why is Mayor Bottoms in the lead? African-American women. Now, will they put her over the top? That we'll see. So if you're Jeff Duncan or Jason Esteves, you've got to try to get at least some of those voters to vote for you if you're going to win this thing, if you're going to make a runoff.
Right.
Or have any hope of winning a runoff.
Last topic of the night. Jason Shepard has a post over on the blog I want you guys to go and read. It's about Catoosa County Republican Party's ballot questions. They've tried this in the past. And Jason tells you all the details. I'm just going to tell you what they're trying to do this time. They have submitted their notarized copy of their questions they would like to see added to the primary ballot. Local parties, because it's a primary, they're allowed to put ballot questions on the ballot.
These are non-binding.
Non-binding,
right?
Non-binding. It's a way for the parties to poll the Republican voters. And the state does this too. I think the state gets up to 5 questions. But the folks up in Catoosa County wanted to do 8 questions, and here they are. Question number 1. Do you know that you can get involved in your local Republican Party and help protect your community by going to CatoosaCountyGOP.com and coming to one of our meetings?
Oh, my.
Question 1.
That's pretty clever. I wish I had thought of that when I was GOP chairman.
Question number 2. Do you believe that anyone, even closet Democrats, should be able to run on the Republican primary ballots? Question number 3. Did you know that the Catoosa County Republican Party convention delegates voted to expel Chuck Harris from the party? Important to know that Chuck Harris will be on the same ballot as this ballot question. Question number 4. Do you want the Republican Party to ensure our candidates for office are for gun rights? Question number 5. Do you want the Republican Party to ensure our candidates for office are for lower taxes? Question number 6. Do you want the Republican Party to ensure our candidates for office are pro-life? Question number 7. Did you know that Colton Moore is the only candidate for Congressional District 14 endorsed by the Georgia Republican Assembly? Question number 8. Did you know that Nick Millwood has opposed Republican Party efforts to prohibit Democrats from running on the Republican Party primary ballot? Also important to know that Nick Millwood will be on the same ballot as this ballot question. Now, Nick Millwood is running against State Representative Mitchell Horner.
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell Horner posted this on his Facebook when he saw the questions, along with the form. The notarized form was notarized in Tennessee, by the way. A lot of people pointed that out.
Yeah, strange.
This was Mitchell Horner's statement on March 11th. I did not ask nor accept the local Republican Party to place my opponent's name on the ballot question, nor do I believe that is the proper role of the party. I trust the wisdom and judgment of Republican voters to make their decision at the ballot box. I am confident in my convictions and in the platform I am running on, and I will stand on that record with the support of my people. My responsibility is to represent the people of Catoosa County, and I will continue to work to earn their trust, their approval, and their vote.
Mm-hmm.
So there is Mitchell Horner's response.
Yeah.
And this, I guess he actually shared Nick Millwood's post because Nick Millwood was like,
what the heck?
Yeah. Well, here comes Alex Johnson to the party to comment on Mitchell Horner's post. He said the proper role of the party is to have a strong platform, good for the people, then support candidates that will enact that platform. Are you implying you're not in favor of the party doing that? Enter Scott into the chat.
Yeah.
See, I'm not on the ballot anymore. I can do this. I can have some fun on Facebook and social media. So here's my response to Alex. You are not the party. That's it. That was the response.
Yeah.
You are not the party, Alex. The Georgia Republican Assembly is not the party. Why is the Republican Party putting the Georgia Republican Assembly endorsement on a ballot question? Tell me how that's not electioneering. Mm-hmm. Tell me how that's not turning this into a campaign flyer in the ballot box. What are you trying to do here, Catoosa County GOP? Do you not trust the voters to make up their own mind, that you're trying to change their mind in the ballot box? Do you think this is an effective way of electioneering your preferred outcome? If you had trust for the Republican electorate, the people who actually participate in Republican elections, primaries, you wouldn't even entertain doing something like this. And no, it is not your job to pick winners and losers of the candidates. It's up to us as voters. How do you think that that's legal or ethical? It's not ethical.
As folks know, I was chairman of the Gwinnett County Republican Party for 3 years. I went through the process of putting ballot questions on the ballot in one of the years that I was there, and we took input from all sorts of people, and we came up with for some reason the number 4 sticks in my mind. That's what we did because that was at the time the limit. But they can be a very valuable for us as a political party. It was a very valuable thing because it allowed us to take the pulse of the broader voting Republican electorate out there. And what are they thinking about various issues? And that's what we did. And Scott, I can actually break news here. Thanks to Jason Shepard in Peach Pundit, the Signal chat just 5 minutes ago, the Catoosa Elections Board nixed the offending ballot questions. These things that we mentioned here will not be on the ballot in Catoosa County. And Jason's post was referenced at the meeting and provided intellectual heft and legal backup to the elections board up there to say, get this stuff out of here. So good. Way to go, Jason. Peach Pundit, the blog for the win. And Catoosa County, go back to the drawing board and actually do your frickin' jobs, which is to get Republicans elected, Republicans that the primary voters choose, not try to ram candidates down the throats of the voting public and not try to rig the elections, because that's what they're doing here. They're trying to rig the elections.
The GRA as an organization is hell-bent on limiting choices
Yeah.
and then saying, we want the people to be involved.
Yeah.
I don't know how you twist that logic. I'm the one who's saying, let the people decide. You're the one saying, we don't want certain people to be an option for the people to decide.
Yeah.
And you don't see it,
And
or you have to see it and just contort yourself.
Here's the bottom line, man. They are up to their necks in the Frostopus scandal.
Yeah.
They have yet to take ownership and man up and admit their involvement in that. They obfuscate. They pretend that they've never heard of the Frosts, even though, innocent till proven guilty. But their president, right? He wasn't that Nathan Darnell's title, chairman, whatever.
Chairman of the Georgia Republican Assembly, Nathaniel Darnell.
Nathaniel
the
Darnell.
National Federation of GRA is Alex Johnson.
When are they going to take accountability for their actions? And I hope
never.
I hope that there are no serious Republicans anywhere in the state of Georgia who take this group seriously, because their credibility have been shrinking by the election cycle. And it should be totally finished off, and nobody should listen to anybody or anything that this organization puts out, because they have no credibility. And what about the victims? Where is the concern by the GRA for the victims of the Frostopus? Because I don't hear it. I don't see it anywhere.
No.
So I really don't. I see, disrespect to Alex Johnson. I see him comment on all kinds of stuff on Facebook and on social media, and I get his emails, and I don't even read it anymore because it no credibility.
It's just garbage.
It's garbage. Absolute garbage.
It is
and
a
if he wants to,
pile of BS.
Right. He wants to call folks like you, and I'm sure I'm in that category too, and many millions of other Georgians, that we're part of some sort of paid, bought off in elections industrial complex or something or other, fraudulent stuff. None of us are accused of being involved in a Ponzi scheme. So
correct. And the $50 that I got from Cinco, I sent back to the receiver.
Yeah.
And you can go look, this receiver cashed the check.
Yep.
But your friends, they didn't give the money back. Colton Moore got like $30,000 over the years.
Yeah. Did he give it back?
No.
I don't know. So
no. Look, all this, come back to the original. Way to go, Jason Shepard.
Yeah. Laid it out
Pete.
Clearly and logically, and bam.
That's going to wrap the show. Look, I have made a mistake. I made a mistake for whatever reason. I had to go and rerun the list of names who are Patreons.
Yeah.
Today, if you're not on this list, ping me. And if you're a paying Patreon, I hope I got this right. Randall Trammell has been a Patreon to the podcast for several weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have failed to say his name. Randall, we regret the error and blame others. But here are the full list of folks who are now on the list of people who rock. They are Adam Pethel, Tony Western, Friends and Americans for Prosperity, Amy Davis, several anonymous Patreons, including one who wants you to learn more about the Alzheimer's Association. All right, I got to take a deep breath. Bethany Ballard, Bill Werkheiser, Bo Brandon, Brittany Ellison, Colin Martin, Daniel Shaver, Elizabeth Clare, Emmanuel Hernandez, Frank Russo, Gabe Hartwick, Jeff Cobble, Greer Howard, Hank Burnham, Harrison Edwards, Jacqueline Harn, Jenkins Bankston, John Vestal, Jordan Reed, JT Marshburn, Justin Wright, Ken Pullen, Kenyatta Mitchell, Lawton Sack, Mark Pettit, Mike Buchert, Randall Trammell, Reed Powell, Robert Lee, Robert Maybury, Robert Pruitt, Ron Daniels, Ryan Graham, Ryan Purvis, Sam Thomas, Sergio Ortega, Shannon Ferguson, Skylar Aikens, Stuart Wilkinson, Terry Fye, and Whitney Griggs. I think I only took 2 breaths the whole time, and I only messed up once. Thank you for being Patreons. You can join them at patreon.com/peachpundit. Sign up today. We'll put you in the Signal chat. There's over 35 of members, I think, at this point. Whitney Griggs was new. Robert Pruitt was new.
Yeah.
Randall Trammell's not really new, but we're going to call him out several times to make up the fact that we haven't called him out before. Randall would also like you to know he's running for a public office. Google him. Learn more about Randall Trammell. We've talked about the race that he's in.
Yes.
I think that's a school
it's an
superintendent
important
thing.
Race.
Yeah, we bash on the incumbent on that all the time. There's an alternative. That's not an endorsement. I'm just telling you that's out there.
You have choices.
I'm really trying to make it up to Randall.
Unlike
here.
the Catoosa GOP, we believe you should have choices.
Yes.
In elections.
You deserve choices. The American people always deserve choices. That is Buzz Brockway. I am Scott Turner. We are Peach Pundit, the podcast, which is owned and published by me. All the music here is by Jason Pye. We'll catch you next time.
Go Jackets.